They needed a perfect soldier. The Empire got a game breaker instead. The Celestian Empire was a monument to order, its spires of polished chrome reaching toward the heavens in geometric harmony. Its streets hummed with the synchronized cadence of transport vessels, and its military functioned with the cold, elegant precision of a master clock. They had conquered dozens of star systems not through brute force, but through superior logic. Their grand strategist, Durex, a being of crystalline intellect and layered obsidian scales, was the living embodiment of this philosophy. He saw war not as a conflict of wills, but as a scientific discipline. He was a philosopher of conflict, a scientist of slaughter, and his latest project was an enigma: a human. Durex's vast databanks contained a file on a single human male named Milo. It was an anomaly that defied every rule of his universe. Milo's combat record was a chaotic, erratic mess of impossible outcomes, kill counts that defied the laws of physics, a trail of destroyed enemies that showed no tactical pattern, no repeatable strategy. It was a statistical impossibility, a glitch in the galactic fabric. More than that, the outcomes seemed to actively defy probability itself, hinting at an unquantifiable variable the Celestian mind refused to acknowledge: luck. To Durex, it was an interesting research subject, a primitive curiosity to be studied and its aberrant logic corrected. The ceremonial docking bay of the Imperial flagship gleamed, a testament to the Celestians' obsession with control. Rows of officers, their faces blank behind polished masks, stood in perfect formation. Their internal sensors were calm, the environment perfectly regulated. Then the shuttle doors hissed open. Milo strode onto the deck. He wasn't swaggering or nervous. His expression was a study in placid calm, his eyes scanning the impeccable ranks with detached curiosity. He wore an Imperial uniform, but it was unzipped, the boots scuffed, the sleeves rolled up, a quiet rejection of the formality. In his hand he held a beat-up ancient device, a boombox. He set it down, the scuffed plastic a jarring intrusion, clicked a button, and the silence was shattered by a deafening wail of electric guitars. The officers flinched. Inside their helmets, red alerts flashed warnings of auditory assault and psychological disruption. Their perfect lines momentarily disrupted. Durex remained utterly still. "Human," he said, his voice a low thrum that cut through the noise. "This is a place of discipline. That sound, it is an assault on order." Milo shrugged, reaching down to turn the volume to a low thrum. "It's a rhythm. Every warrior needs one." Durex gestured to an enclosed chamber. "Your combat aptitude will be assessed in the deception matrix. It is designed to test your ability to differentiate reality from illusion. The system is flawless. Only a perfect score is acceptable." Milo nodded, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "Got it. So, no cheating, right?" he asked, calmly pulling a small combat knife from his boot. "The Matrix is incorruptible," Durex stated with cold pride. Milo stepped into the chamber. Holographic projectors hummed, creating a cityscape filled with ghostly copies of armed Celestian soldiers. The real enemy was hidden among them. But Milo didn't scan for a telltale shimmer. Instead, he took the knife, his eyes scanning the sterile walls. He found it, a small hidden maintenance port, its seam almost invisible. With a casual flick of his wrist, he threw the knife. It didn't strike a target. It buried itself directly into the port. A shower of sparks, a high-pitched whine, and the entire deception matrix shorted out. The countless illusions vanished, leaving the single, real Celestian officer standing in the sudden silence, utterly shocked. Durex's perfect composure wavered. He had designed the system to be a perfect measure of skill, yet the human had bypassed it entirely, not by playing the game, but by breaking it. Later, in his private chambers, Durex rewatched the security footage. The human's action was not random. He had identified the system's single physical vulnerability in seconds. Durex cross-referenced the behavior with trillions of tactical data points. The result was null. There was no Celestian doctrine for breaking the test. For the first time, Durex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the sterile air. It was the cold dread of an unknown variable.
Durex led Milo to the heart of the War Academy. The grand chess game, an AI-driven war simulation that had never been defeated. The AI can predict and counter every logical military maneuver, Durex explained, as the domed chamber materialized a photorealistic battlefield. Your squad of 5 will face a force of hundreds. You will fail, and we will finally quantify your inefficiency. Milo's 5 chrome units took a defensive position on a high ridge. The enemy, blue drones, advanced in a flawless, inescapable web. They are closing the net, Durex noted with satisfaction. Every vector of retreat is covered. Then Milo's units charged. It was a suicidal, headlong rush into the swarm, violating every known tactical doctrine. "What is he doing?" Durex muttered. Milo's eyes were fixed on a small, glowing cube miles behind the enemy front lines, the AI's command node. His units weren't fighting the army, they were bypassing it. They tore through the disorganized ranks, a whirlwind of laser fire. The AI, its logic failing against a foe that didn't care about dying, scrambled to adapt. It was too late. Milo's units reached the node. A final, brilliant flash, and the simulation was over. It had lasted less than a minute. The AI's post-action report was a paradox. Strategy analysis suboptimal. Probability of success 0.001%. Outcome, victory. The contradiction hung in the air, an offense to reason itself. Before Durex could process this new impossibility, a blaring alarm shattered the silence. A remote outpost on the fringe was under attack by a new species, the Scourge. The video feed was a chaotic mess of chitinous, insect-like creatures swarming the Celestian position. Their energy shields, calibrated for directed energy weapons, proved useless against the Scourge's crude kinetic projectiles and biological acid spit. The Celestians were dying because their technology was too sophisticated. Their movements were untraceable. They fought without self-preservation, a maddening, unreasoning tide against which every defensive algorithm broke down. Against all his instincts, Durex sent Milo. On the battlefield, the human was immediately caught in the maelstrom. For the first time, he looked outmatched. He dodged, he fired, but the sheer, unpredictable nature of the enemy was overwhelming. Then something in Milo's eyes shifted. Not panic, but a wild, feral understanding. He stopped fighting for survival and started to embrace the madness. A Scourge warrior lunged, its razor limb extended. Milo didn't block. He sidestepped, grabbed the attacking limb, and used the creature's own momentum to pivot its body, impaling its razor-sharp arm into the chest of another charging enemy. He discarded his rifle and used a torn piece of machinery as a bludgeon, weaving through the horde not with calculation, but with a brutal, kinetic grace. The Scourge, built to sow chaos, faltered. They were facing their own reflection, but it was smarter, faster, and terrifyingly focused. They broke and fled. As Milo returned, Durex's data officer, a spindly amphibian, was trembling. "Grand Strategist, his military file. We decrypted the final corrupted layer." He projected the data. The name was Milo Carter. The number isn't a kill count. It's the number of soldiers he once commanded, 42,000. A new chilling entry appeared on the screen. Commander Carter's Omega Protocol was enacted following the Pyrrhic victory at Cygnus X1. His strategically perfect plan resulted in the acceptable loss of the 7th Fleet, a unit he personally trained. The Omega Protocol abandons statistical optimization in favor of unpredictable, survival-focused tactics. Durex finally understood. The file on Milo wasn't a glitch. It was a manifesto. This human wasn't a primitive brute. He was a brilliant strategist who had been broken by the cold calculus of logic, a genius who had purposefully chosen to become a monster. And no algorithm could ever hope to predict a monster's next move.
An alarm echoed through the war room, a tone of escalating urgency Durex had never heard. The Scourge had formed a grand alliance descending upon the inhabited world of Caithar, the sole source of the harmonic crystals used in the Empire's primary consciousness archives. Their goal wasn't conquest. It was to erase the Celestians' entire recorded history. The Celestian fleet deployed in perfect, logical formations. But a Scourge warship, ignoring its own survival, slammed directly into a Celestian dreadnought, tearing a gaping hole in the defense line for their ground forces. The Celestian legions, trained for precise engagements, found their doctrines useless against a foe that valued madness over survival. "Grand Strategist, our models predict total defeat," an officer stammered. A rival strategist, Vorex, stepped forward, his scales rigid. "You would entrust our cultural legacy to a primitive. This is madness." Durex turned to him, his voice flat and devoid of hope. "Our doctrines have failed, Vorex. Madness is all we have left. Execute my command." He turned back to the comm. "Get me Milo." Milo arrived and looked at the unfolding chaos. "Looks like they want a rematch." "You have command," Durex said. "Full authority. It is not a request. It is the only option left." Milo's grin widened. "Took you long enough." He grabbed a communicator. "All right. Listen up, you big pointy-headed lizards. You're fighting a war and they're having a party. It's time to show them what a real party looks like." He began his symphony. "Engineers, I don't want an EMP. Reroute the city's atmospheric regulators. Reverse the polarity. I want a localized gravity spike directly under their vanguard. Let's see how they fly when they suddenly weigh 1,000 tons. On screen, dozens of Scourge ships, caught in the sudden artificial gravity well, slammed into the ground like mountains of metal. Pilots, you see that debris field? I want a third of you to fly into it and play dead. The rest of you execute the drunken moth pattern. Fly erratically, like you're panicking, and lead them right into the kill zone. The Celestian pilots, unshackled from protocol, became a swarm of angry hornets, leading the pursuing Scourge into a deadly pre-laid trap. "One more thing," Milo added, a wolfish grin in his voice. "Communications. Patch my boombox into the fleet-wide broadcast, all frequencies. Let them hear us coming." The discordant wail of electric guitars suddenly blared from every Celestian ship, an anthem of beautiful, terrifying insanity. On the ground, the soldiers fought not with formation, but like a bar fight. A feed captured a Celestian officer, his plasma rifle melted, using the superheated barrel as a branding iron and a club. He roared as he fought, a sound of guttural fury, utterly alien to his species. The Scourge, built to sow chaos, found themselves overwhelmed by something far more terrifying, a controlled chaos, a human storm guided by a malicious, joyful intelligence. They broke and ran, fleeing from a sight they could not comprehend.
Durex stepped onto the ravaged ground of Caithar. The air smelled of ozone and victory. He found Milo standing alone in a field of broken bodies. The 7th Fleet, at Cygnus X1. That was the reason? Milo wiped soot from his face, his serene look replaced by a quiet intensity. Logic told me their deaths were an acceptable price for victory. My gut told me victory wasn't worth the price. He met Durex's gaze. I decided to start listening to my gut. It's messier, but it sleeps better at night. Durex considered this. Our archives contain no word for gut. We have intuition, but it is defined as subconscious data processing. What you describe is different. It is belief, absent of data. You look at the human, this impossible variable. Our logic is a flawless weapon for a predictable universe. You have shown us the universe is not predictable. You will not be a commander. You will be a teacher. You will teach our warriors how to listen to this gut. You will teach them the art of the flaw. Milo raised an eyebrow, a slow, pleased smile spreading across his face, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. So, I'm the boogeyman with a lesson plan. You are the vanguard of a new age. As the Celestian flagship ascended, a single panicked transmission was sent from the last surviving Scourge vessel, a warning to the galaxy. They have learned to fight like the human. They are no longer just logical. Now they have become invincible. 1 month later, a pristine Celestian training hall glittered under chrome lights. Elite warriors, the pride of the Empire, tried to spar in the new, chaotic style. They were clumsy, awkward, bumping into each other. They were trying to calculate unpredictability, and it was a spectacular failure. Milo leaned against a wall, observing. He sighed, then walked to the center of the hall. He bent down and picked up a discarded chrome water flask. He looked at the top-ranked warrior, the same Vorax from the war room, his movements the most rigid and perfect. His face was a mask of humiliation and frustration. Your training tells you this is a container. Your logic tells you it's a blunt object. What does your gut tell you? Vorax stared at the flask in his hand, his brilliant mind racing through probabilities and finding none. He was utterly baffled. Milo offered a small, patient smile. Lesson 1, the best weapon isn't the one you're given, it's the one you find. Now try again.